now going to remove the trenches. It's important to do this before we remove the angled section of the wing, so we can clamp the material better. There are two types of chisel, beveled edge and mortise. We're going to use a beveled edge chisel. It's important to select a chisel that is slightly narrower than the trench, as this will create less resistance and will enable us to remove the material a lot easier. Make this hand shape and grab the chisel, turning the chisel upside down. We want to work from one side to the centre, working towards the middle. Feed the chisel through your hand. Use this hand against the vise to steady yourself, but also to guide the chisel. Place the handle of the chisel in the centre of your other hand and push the chisel towards the material. The natural shape of the chisel will push itself up out of the trench as seen here. Work down towards the mortise gauge line that we created in the previous video. Remember, always keep both of your hands behind the chisel and take your time. Rotate the piece and do the same thing from the other side. Note your index finger along the handle of the chisel, similar to when we are sawing. This will lead to greater accuracy and more control. See how this motion creates balance and stability, but also allows us to feed the chisel through and have great control. If you find that there is too much resistance, get the mallet and use this to tap the end of the chisel. Again, be very careful and always remember to have both hands behind the blade of the chisel. Work towards the mortise gauge line and remove the material up to form an upside down V, similar to what you can see now. The next step is to flatten off this V. Again, we want to work from one side to the centre. Remove little bits of material at a time, and if you feel that there is too much resistance, you are taking off too much material. Ensure that the chisel is flat and not at an angle. If some material is catching in the corners, it's okay to rotate the chisel up as shown. Rotate the workpiece and do the same thing from the other side. Take your time and remove the material nice and slowly. You can see here how this hand shape creates balance but also gives us great control over the chisel. Note the position of my feet. This also gives us balance, similar to when we are sawing. Next, we're going to remove this upright trench. Place the material at a comfortable height in the vise, so that when you place your hand like this, the chisel will be able to naturally move up through the material as seen now. Take little pieces of material at a time, and if you find that there is too much resistance, use the mallet. Again, work from one side to the centre and then rotate the material and carry out the same process. This is a common principle for removing trenches. Again, we have a upside down V shape that we want to remove. We do this by taking little bits of material off at a time, until we come down to the very bottom of the trench. When you get to the bottom, your chisel should sit in the mortise gauge line that you created earlier. This will indicate that you are gone deep enough and there is no need to go any further. Again, take your time. This is not a race. Always ensure that both hands are behind the cutting edge of the chisel. Here we can see the finished trench. Our two components should now fit together and be hand tight. If they do not fit, you may need to remove a little bit more material off one of the components. Remove the trench from the tail section in a similar way. That is how we remove trenches. Remember, always be safe when carrying out this exercise.